Easter, my favorite day of the church year. But before Easter comes one of the saddest days of that year, Good Friday. That day is a yearly reminder of the horrendous death Jesus died so long ago. The reality of that death should result in our endless thanks toward heaven. My introduction to Good Friday took place at Mount Zion Lutheran Church in Detroit, Michigan. At the time, it was the largest Lutheran church in the world. I was 4.5 years old, and I can still see my mother and me sitting in the balcony of that church. It was the first time I heard the song, "The Old Rugged Cross." To this day, that song is one of my favorites. Every time I sing it, my mind takes me back to that balcony service so long ago. Even as a child, I realized something amazing took place on that cross. I understood, as only a child can, that death became life that day, eternal life for you and for me. In Matthew chapter 18, verse 3, Jesus said, "Unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." That's what the Old Rugged Cross does for me every time I sing it. I have the faith of that little child. The first words of the song are, "On a hill far away." I'm reminded of those words with every painting of Calvary that I have seen for a lifetime. You can imagine then my shock when on a trip to Israel in 2012, I actually stood at Calvary and realized there's no hill there and none in sight. What? How could that be? My very soul had long believed Calvary was on a hill, a big hill. Yet I was standing at Calvary, and there was no hill, just a rock with a skull. That rock matched the words of Luke chapter 23, verse 33, quote, "When they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him there, along with the criminals," end quote. In 2012, I was facing that skull. It was fully visible in a rock right in front of my eyes. My favorite Good Friday hymn had actually been incorrect. Calvary is not a hill. It's simply a rock with a skull in it along a sidewalk. Why wasn't Jesus' cross on the beautiful hills I had seen in incredible paintings? He certainly deserved that beautiful setting on which to be crucified for me. The answer? All criminals in Israel were crucified along roads, so people would see them and would be fully aware of their demise if they too chose a criminal path for their lives. When I first saw the skull, I realized Jesus was definitely not crucified on a hill, and I was bothered by that. The truth I saw up close that day now reminds me of Jesus' words in Matthew chapter 16, verse 18, when he said, "On this rock I will build my church." Let's go back for a moment to the rock of the skull and consider it in light of the Matthew verse we just heard. Truth is, on that rock of the skull, Jesus really did build his church. It is at that rock where Jesus died. His death at that rock and his resurrection, only a short distance from there, is the spot from which the church was built. Had Jesus not died on a cross, there we would not be saved, and the church would have no purpose. Had Jesus not rose from the garden tomb, within walking distance of that rock, he would simply have been a man who died. And men die every day. But it was his resurrection that sealed the deal, giving us eternal life. My dear Catholics, the church you attend is not the rock upon which Jesus built his church, as your church claims. The rock is Jesus. Jesus, who died at the rock of the skull and alive, walked out of a rock-carved tomb, locked in place by yet another rock. An angel rolled away. George Bernard was wrong when he wrote that Calvary was on a hill far away. It was actually at a rock far away. And as 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4 says, that rock was Christ. And on that rock, the church was born. The Catholic Church? No. The home church discussed in the book of Acts. Lord willing, I will be in church tomorrow, Good Friday, 2022, to thank Jesus who took my sins away. I will also be in church on Easter, knowing that because he lives, I too shall live eternally. Easter Sunday is the reminder of my assured resurrection to eternal life. And by the way, I cry every Easter when I think about what Jesus did for me. I'll be in church. My question to you is, where will you be? Not only this Easter Sunday, but forever. Thanks for listening. Have a reflecting Good Friday and a joy-filled Easter as we all look ahead to our life forever with our resurrected Lord. Join me again next Thursday as we take an in-depth look at days in our lives that made an eternal difference. See you then. Have a blessed Easter.